Located 22 miles across the sea from both Los Angeles and Orange County, is an island for wildlife lovers, from seeing herds of bison roaming the interior and finding lots of deer grazing around the city. It's also an island where you can find beautiful mermaids posing on the beach, and is also invaded by drunken pirates every October. It's all on the Mediterranean-style island of Santa Catalina, California, the same island you visit if you're into golf, whether it's playing on the oldest golf course west of Mississippi, or just by renting a golf cart to get around, because that is the main use of transportation here. Welcome back once again, everybody. My name is Kris if you're watching me for the very first time, and in this video I'll be talking all about Catalina Island's highlights and history, including many historical attractions, tours, and hotels. And then in the second half, I'll be talking all about the famous Catalina wine mixer, which you may have heard from the movie Step Brothers, right after showing you all some more footage first. So Santa Catalina Island is 22 miles long, up to 8 miles wide, and is a part of the 8-Channel Islands. The main destination is Avalon on the south side of the island that attracts roughly 1 million visitors every year from the Mediterranean vibes and atmosphere. The bay is full of boats that offer plenty of water activities, including paragliding, kayaking, and jet skiing. The main area for shopping and dining is the pedestrian boardwalk that stretches for a few blocks and intersects with a few other small streets, where the most fun and common way of getting around is by renting a golf cart. There's also the green pleasure pier you can walk on that offers good views of the ferries in one direction, and in the other is the iconic Catalina Casino, which is just a short walk away and a place for many special events all year, walking history tours multiple times a week, and in the back is the Casino Point Dive Park that's a very popular place to both snorkel and scuba dive. Another short walk past there is Descanso Beach that has the only restaurant and bar in Avalon being right on the beach. It also has a few fire pits to have bonfires at night. You can rent cabanas and sun lounging chairs, and right behind there is a huge lawn that's used for the falconry experience, where you can hold a falcon, get up close to some owls, and is also where you can take off to go ziplining. Then going just around the rocks are all the luxury villas and condos of Hamilton Cove. Some you can rent for a week or more. They have the real estate office near the Avalon Boardwalk, and I have the link in my description if these are some places you would consider staying. Now on the other side of Avalon is the Cabrillo Mole Terminal, where the ferries both arrive and take off. Just past there is a place called Lover's Cove, where the submarines and glass bottom boats go to show you tons of fish, including the California state fish called the Garibaldi. About a mile from there is an area called Pebbly Beach, which has the only gas station on the island, being over $7 a gallon. It's also where the helicopters land and take off if you decide to fly. Other than that, it's a big industrial area where you'll find some warehouses, yards, and the Edison power plant. Going behind the boardwalk for about a mile is the Avalon Canyon, where you'll find the 9-hole golf course going back to the year 1892, where Tiger Woods even played a couple of times as a kid. It's also where you'll find some local deer, and nearby is the Catalina Island Horseback Adventures, which I would like to mention that they are brand new and just opened up a few months ago. Then if you go all the way in the back, you'll reach the Wrigley Memorial and Botanical Gardens. As for the hills above Avalon, they offer hiking and walking trails where you can get some some good views and snap some postcard-like photos. On one end is the Mount Ada bed and breakfast, and then on the other is the luxury Zane Grey Hotel. I'll be talking about those later when talking about the island's history, but for now I want to talk a little bit about the northern side of the island where the two harbors are located, aka the isthmus that's the narrowest point on the island, being around half a mile. On one side is the Catalina harbor with the turquoise water, and on the other is the Isthmus Cove where the boats pick you up and drop you off. This part of the island is good if you love camping, from having around 48 campsites. There's definitely more walking and hiking trails where you can also go mountain biking, and a place where you can scuba dive, snorkel, and kayak. If you're looking for a hotel, your one and only option is the Banning Lodge that's located on a small hill that gives you amazing views of both harbors. There's also a few annual events that you can make a day trip out of. The first is the Brews Fest, the second is the Wine Fest, the third is the Buccaneer Days that goes on for a whole weekend every October, and lastly is the Beach Brew and Barbecue that's brand new as of spring 2025. The distance between the two harbors in Avalon is just over 13 miles. The most common way of transportation is to take the Cyclone boat during mostly the summer months. That takes roughly 30 to 40 minutes. You can also take the Catalina Express, where they often make pit stops going to and from the city of San Pedro on the mainland. As for the island's interior, this is where you can see a lot of the bison that are extremely dangerous when approached, so please do not get too close. There's also a few reservoirs and some of the advanced hiking trails, such as the Catalina being over 38 miles that takes a few days to complete. The interior also has other attractions such as the airport in the sky and the Rancho Escondido that I will be talking more about later. As for taking a ferry to Avalon, you have to leave from the Catalina landing that's located in 4 cities, with 2 of them being down in Orange County and the other 2 being up in Los Angeles County. All the boat rides take roughly an hour, and they all arrive to the same place at the Cabrillo terminal. Starting with Orange County, the first city is Newport Beach, where you'll leave from their harbor. That's a very awesome place to walk around and eat and shop at. This is the only city out of all 4 that uses the ferry called the Catalina Flyer, and the other 3 use the Catalina Express ferries. The other city in Orange County is Dana Point, with the Catalina landing also being in their harbor, which is another beautiful attraction worthy of checking out with more shopping and dining options. Dana Point is also the whale watching capital of the world, so be sure to keep your eyes open and be on the lookout when you're on the boat. As for the 2 cities in LA County, the first one is San Pedro, that's the port of Los Angeles, and are in the process of rebuilding a big part of the waterfront, which is supposed to open sometime this year. San Pedro is also the only city where you can leave directly to the 2 harbors and back, otherwise it's directly to Avalon from all the other cities. Then the last city is Long Beach, where you'll leave near the Shoreline Village. That's another nice place to explore. Long Beach is also the only city where you can fly to Catalina using Maverick helicopters. Being right next to the Queen Mary, you get free admission and a 15% discount to their restaurants, which I would like to add, it's one of the most haunted places in America. As for the helicopter flight, it's about 15 to 20 minutes for roughly $200 one way. We took off getting a great view of the LA port, the docks, the breakwater, Palos Verdes, flying over the cargo ships, and other boats including the Catalina ferries. But what made this flight so unique and special was flying right over the Catalina crossings that happens only once a year. It's a canoe race from Newport Beach to Avalon one day, and then back to Newport from Avalon the next day with a different team. I felt really lucky flying over them before getting one perfect view of the Catalina coastline before landing in Pebbly Beach just south of Avalon. Unless you have private transportation arranged, there should be taxis waiting outside. They do not, I repeat, they do not fly to the airport in the sky, so please do not make that mistake. I also want to suggest a Buffalo Nickel restaurant being right there when you land. It's a local favorite, has very fun staff that I enjoy talking with, and for a heads up, it's cash only. As for my food suggestions, their burritos are huge, tasted great, and you can add carne asada. Other popular entrees are their ceviche with avocado and their shrimp cocktail that was also pretty good size. As for talking about the island's history, Catalina Island has been home to the Native Americans for around 8,000 years, with the most common tribe known as the Paimongans. It was then first discovered and claimed for Spain by European explorer Juan Cabrillo in the year 1542 during his expedition up the California coast, which is what the Cabrillo Mole Terminal is named after today. 60 years later, on November 24, 1602, another Spanish explorer named Sebastian Vizcaino came ashore on the eve of St. Catherine's Day, which means Santa Catalina in Spanish, and therefore he names the island Santa Catalina. Going all the way up to the year 1848, Catalina became a part of the United States. Then almost 40 years later in 1887, a businessman named George Chateau purchased the island with intentions to bring in tourism and started making plans for its very first city called Avalon. Lots were sold to a number of people, and a pier and a hotel were built that no longer exist today. Thousands of people were brought in on steamships by the Wilmington Transportation Company, which was owned by three brothers named Joseph Banning, William Banning, and Hancock Banning, aka the Banning brothers. Then in the year 1891, they bought and owned the entire island and immediately built more attractions, including the Santa Catalina Company in 1894, the Catalina Yacht Club in 1893, and the golf course in 1892, which only started off with 3 holes. It today has 9 and is currently the oldest golf course west of Mississippi. Avalon is also where sport fishing was created by a man named Charles Frederick Holder after catching a bluefin tuna weighing 183 pounds. Holder then created the Avalon Tuna Club in 1898 and is today the oldest fishing club in the United States, and such members over the years included Charlie Chaplin, Bing Crosby, Theodore Roosevelt, and even British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, who made a visit to the island in 1929 and caught a marlin weighing almost 190 pounds. You can find the Tuna Club building on the walkway towards the casino that was built in, I believe, 1916, and then slightly across the street is the Holder Memorial Rock, being obviously named after Charles Frederick Holder. Tourism continued growing at the start of the 1900s, with more developments being made. This included the Banning Lodge over in the Two Harbors that was built in 1909 and was once the home for, obviously, the Banning brothers. Then down in Avalon there's the Green Pier, aka the Pleasure Pier, that was built also in 1909 by the Banning brothers. It extends 400 feet over the water, and the end is a place to go fishing. You can rent a kayak or a jet ski, leave to go parasailing, and is where the submarines and glass boats take off. You'll also find a fishing store where you can rent some poles, tackle, and other gear, the Love Catalina Visitor Center, a few food places, and a few other companies where you can book both land and sea excursions. Avalon finally became incorporated as a city in the year 1913, and the Banning brothers had succeeded into making the city and the rest of the island a tourist destination. However, a fire in 1915 destroyed 1/3 of Avalon, which was a big financial burden, along with the tourism declining from the First World War in 1917. Financial issues caused them to pass the island's ownership in 1919 to William Wrigley Jr., who would then develop more infrastructure and attractions. Since he was the owner of the Chicago Cubs, he made Avalon the home for their spring training from 1921 to 1951 for the purpose of bringing back tourism. The baseball field is no longer there today, but it stood somewhere near the fire station next to the golf course, and you can find this baseball plaque being right outside the fire station. An attraction that you can see today is the Country Clubhouse that was also built by William Wrigley Jr. in 1928 for the Cubs to use for their locker rooms and a place to relax. Today it's where the first hole of the golf course begins. It's a place to book special events such as weddings, and is also used for the famous Catalina wine mixer, so watch until the end for more details. Wrigley also built a home in 1920 at the top of the hills overlooking the Avalon Bay called Mount Ada, which he named after his wife Ada Wrigley, where they would spend their summers, and they could also watch the Cubs practice just down the mountain. It today serves as a 6-room bed and breakfast. Unless you're a guest, the property is closed to all visitors, but the lookout point outside is a very popular spot for hikers and sightseers called the Buena Vista Point. On a quick side note, if you go down a small set of stairs, you'll come across this white cross, and then below is a small memorial for Joseph Banning. I don't know what this place was used for, but you also get good views looking down on the submarines at Lover's Cove. If you walk a little bit the other way, you'll come across the American flag, where you can look down on the ferries at the Cabrillo Terminal and get other similar views of Avalon. It was also in the year 1920 that the Santa Catalina Island Company opened the Hotel Atwater that's still located in the heart of Avalon, and I would like to take a moment to talk about the positive features of staying here. The first thing I want to say is that it's been recently renovated. They did a great job with the lobby. I like the artwork at the front desk and would like to add the staff were very friendly and fun to talk with. In the back, there's 3 glass containers full of souvenirs and history, including a few items of Elvis Presley and Marilyn Monroe. Just outside the lobby is the bistro at the Atwater, which was one of my favorite places to get coffee, and then down the hall is both the post office and a small gym, which you can use for free if you stay as a guest. As for spending the night, I stayed in the classic room with a king bed that was average size, and I found everything pretty clean. Another benefit of staying here is every night you get a $20 food and beverage credit to a number of restaurants that are owned by the Catalina Island Company. You also get 15% off certain activities that are also owned by the Island Company, and one of them is the Bison Expedition, which leads to my very next topic. The bison are one of the top attractions and symbols on the island. Only 14 of them were brought over in 1924 to help make a Western movie called The Vanishing American. Fortunately for the lack of funds, this kept the bison from being moved back, and it was decided by Wrigley that they were allowed to remain. There's around 100 today, and unless you plan on hiking and backpacking the island's interior, the only way to see them are on the inland tours that take off every day from Avalon, including the Bison Expedition by the Island Company and the inland tour by Catalina Adventure Tours. Both tours are 2 hours, and what you can expect from both are going past the Hay Press Reservoir, getting views of both the coast and the mainland on a clear day, making pit stops to the airport and the sky for about 15 minutes, mainly for bathroom breaks and snacks. They also use the same roads coming and going from Avalon, meaning they show you more great views of the city. Lastly, I want to say the tour guides will teach you a lot about the island's history and different locations of the island. If you want more information about either tour, you can find both the links in my description. Now, the author of The Vanishing American was by a writer named Zane Grey, who built a house in 1926 on the northern hills of Avalon, also overlooking the Avalon Bay and located right across the bay from Mount Ada. His home was turned into the Zane Grey Pueblo Hotel after his death in 1939 and is, in my opinion, one of the most luxury hotels in all of Avalon today, especially after being renovated for a number of years and reopening in 2019. Here's the lobby that I'll show you real fast, and in the back are a few shelves of more books he wrote along with a few souvenirs. They also offer free shuttle rides to and from the Cabrillo terminal, and there's free breakfast every morning. In the courtyard, they have a small pool with these U-shaped sun lounging chairs. There's also a couple of fire pits, a few nice sofas to sit on, an elevator for whoever needs it, and you have all these nice views looking inland. Probably the cheapest room you can book is the queen bed. It's average size, everything was clean, the bed and pillows were extremely comfortable, and this was the bathroom and shower. If you feel like upgrading to even more luxury, they have suites that include 2 large rooms. In one of them there's a couch, tall windows, a couple of chairs, and a TV. This was the size of the bathroom and shower, which was obviously a bit bigger. Then this was my bedroom facing the ocean that led to a balcony with a couple of chairs and was right above the pool and courtyard. I had these views looking down on Avalon, and it was a great place to relax at night looking at all the city lights. Then looking the other way is the top of the casino and the Chimes Tower being right across the street. The Chimes Tower is another Avalon landmark that was also built by William Wrigley Jr. in 1925 to ring every 15 minutes and still does today. This is another great walking destination and a popular stop if you're driving a golf cart. It's about a 10 to 15 minute uphill walk from the water, and you'll see all these chimes getting up close. You'll see the whole city lit up if you come at night, and if you walk just a little further up the hill, you'll get partial views of the Sconso Beach. Moving up to the year 1927, William Wrigley Jr. built the Catalina Pottery and Tile Company that was located over in Pebbly Beach until 1937. During those 10 years, the company produced the materials to make small household items and used to build a few unique attractions, including the Catalina Casino, which opened on May 29, 1929, and is still the most recognized landmark on the island. Talking about this for the next few minutes, I want to first say that it's not an actual casino, so you won't find any blackjack tables or slot machines. It's called casino because that means a place of gathering in Italian. Just outside at the front entrance, you'll find a lot of oceanic murals. Going inside on the bottom is a huge movie theater that has almost 1,200 seats with more nice artwork all over the walls, and there's also a hallway with a couple of concession stands. Then on top is the largest circular ballroom in the world that's still used for many parties and special events throughout the year. There's 2 huge bars right when you walk in. The lights and designs on the ceiling are very stylish, and this was also where CBS once broadcasted music to the rest of the country starting in 1934. Then outside is a walkway that goes all the way around, where you get views of Avalon on one side and then Descanso Beach on the other. Walking tours are also available that go on for roughly an hour. If you book the VIP backstage tour, it's $19 extra than a general admission, where you get to see a few dressing rooms, William Wrigley Jr.'s private viewing room that included his safe and a small window looking out towards the theater. We also saw a few projectors and switchboards, a bunch of pictures of the casino's construction, and so much more before ending our tour in the ballroom. Another attraction Wrigley Jr. built in 1929 using more materials from his pottery company was the bird park that was home to roughly 8,000 different birds, making it the largest aviary in the world during that time. Unfortunately, tourism was affected both during World War II and the post-war years. The park closed down in 1966 and the birds were moved to the LA Zoo. It's today located across from the golf course. You can only go up to the entrance gate and see parts of the birdcage inside, but I still think it's a pretty cool place to check out. Now, going into the 1930s, William Wrigley Jr.'s son named Philip and his wife named Helen built the interior's first attraction in 1932. That was an Arabian horse ranch called the Rancho Escondido, which means the hidden ranch in Spanish. Because tourism declined during World War II, tours begun in the post-war years to bring attention to the ranch. You can visit today if you book the Western Horse Showcase by the Catalina Island Company, and you'll be leaving from Avalon in this cool, old-fashioned looking bus. It's a little over an hour drive and another great way to see the island's interior. You get to see some horse demonstrations, take a look around the courtyard, and go inside the trophy room where you get to see a variety of saddles, history photos, and other rewards and trophies behind the glass cases. After being there for an hour, you'll drive up to the ranch's chapel for about 10 minutes. Here's the inside that I'll show you very quickly, and just outside are some great coastal views of Catalina's backside. You'll also drive by the ranch's big field of vineyards facing the water, which is another thing they are known for. If you want more information about this tour, you'll find the link in my description. The same year the ranch was built in 1932 was the same year William Wrigley Jr. passed away. The Wrigley Memorial in Avalon started being built in October 1933, finished 8 months later in June 1934, and you can still visit today. The majority of the building materials were from or made on the island, such as the Catalina tile from Wrigley's Pottery Company and the blue flagstone rock coming from Little Harbor on the other side of the island. Including that with the architecture and designs, they make the memorial a very beautiful place to explore. You'll climb up a short number of stairs, and at the top you can see all the way out towards the ocean. There's also the botanical gardens where you can easily spend roughly 20 minutes looking at all the different plants and cacti from around the world. This was started by William's wife, Ada Wrigley, in 1935 and then was further expanded in 1969. As for getting here, it's located all the way in the back of the Avalon Canyon, which is a little over a mile from the waterfront, and it's a little over $15 to get in. After William Wrigley Jr. died in 1932, his son Philip then took control of the Santa Catalina Island Company, and it was also Philip's idea in the 1930s that Avalon should have more of a Spanish colonial look. When you see places like the Villa Casino Archway, the El Encanto building being right next to it, and the Sombrero Fountain being in front of both, it's because they were either built or redesigned during that time. Then in the year 1940, construction for the airport in the sky began, thanks again to Philip Wrigley and the Catalina Island Company, but it wasn't finished until 1946 because the island was closed for tourism after the Pearl Harbor attack in December 1941. One of the first things you'll come across is a map of the island, and right next to it is a big wall of everything that represents Catalina. Going inside is a restaurant that includes a fireplace with a stuffed buffalo head right above it. There's also a small gift shop in one corner, an outdoor patio if you want to eat outside, and then in the hallway there's a big history board that you can take a look at. As for food, I'll take a second to show you their menu real fast. You can add buffalo meat to any of their burgers, where I got one called the Bonanza made with avocado, bacon, and grilled onions. I also suggest trying their ginormous cookies that they are very well known for. One of the most common ways to get here is by taking an inland tour, where they make pit stops for about 15 minutes to just use the restroom and to get snacks. In my opinion, 15 minutes is all you're really going to need. The only reason to stay longer is to have time to order food, because you won't have time if you're on a tour. There's also a hiking trail outside called the Airport Loop that's just under 2.5 miles, where I came across a couple of island foxes. Between eating and hiking, you can expect to be here for roughly an hour. Having said all that, you can come here on your own by taking the Island Conservancy shuttle that leaves from Avalon for just under $30 one way, and it's about a 45-minute drive. Now, moving up to 1972, the Wrigley family creates the Catalina Island Conservancy and then donates to them over 42,000 acres of land in 1975. Today, the Conservancy protects and manages 88% of the island. They also have a few tours going around the island's interior that leave from Avalon, suggesting their eco tour for a few minutes. There's both 2 and 3 hour options, and since I did 3 hours, I have a little bit more to add with this one. First, they take the same starting and ending roads as the other companies, so that means you'll get the same ocean views and see a lot of the same attractions. What this tour did differently was drive through different roads, which also means you can see bison in other areas. We drove all the way to the island's backside, where we got views of Little Harbor, Cottonwood Beach, Shark Fin Rock, and other areas just south of the two harbors before driving by the Rancho Escondido and then stopping at the airport in the sky for another 15 minutes. Lastly, I want to mention that our driver was very friendly and informative about everything we drove past, including some pear trees, some other plants called the coastal sagebrush, aka the cowboy cologne, and I also have this activity link in my description. The last thing I want to say is that the Wrigley family is still involved with the Island Company today and is constantly adding new attractions and events, such as the Catalina Wine Mixer. So most of you have heard of the Wine Mixer probably by watching the movie Step Brothers, which they sell all kinds of movie-themed souvenirs during the event. But what you need to know first is that the movie was filmed all the way across in Rancho Palos Verdes at the Trump Golf Course. Another thing that you need to know is that the movie came out in 2008, and the first Wine Mixer on the island came out in 2015 and has been a 2-day event every May since that year. As for some advice and tips that you should know before going, it's best to reserve your tickets ASAP. Comparing the VIP versus general admission, if you book VIP, it includes entry to the reception at the Catalina Country Club for 2 hours. This is the barroom where you can drink all the wine you can because it's all for free. Then outside is the courtyard, where they have a few different buffets that are also complimentary, including a variety of tacos, all kinds of other food, and they also have live music. You can also go in this room that's very pretty for its fireplace and chandeliers all over the place. This is also where you have all these free desserts, including chocolate, vanilla, and a few other cakes. As for getting there, it's not even a mile from the boardwalk, but there's complimentary shuttles that leave every 15 minutes from the motor tour area next to the mini golf course. After the reception is the opening bash. That's a large gathering with live music in front of the casino that's good for general admission. But if you're a VIP, you have a free movie ticket for Step Brothers that plays in the casino's movie theater, and there's even photo ops with the movie poster. Then after Step Brothers is the evening beach party at Descanso, which is the only part of the Wine Mixer that's open to the public, so you don't need any ticket for this event. There's a big Wine Mixer sign to take pictures with. It's very alive with all the crowds, lights, bonfires, and music, including a live DJ, and overall the party runs for about 3 hours and goes on until about midnight. Descanso Beach will also be the main location for the next day, where they have concerts on the lawn starting around 3 or 4 o'clock. Then surrounding the stage are more than 25 winery and brewery tents selling their drinks. This area is good for both VIP and general admission, but if you're a VIP, you have access to the upstairs of the beach club building known as Catherine's Terrace that has an outdoor patio where you can look right down on the beach and the bar. Inside are 2 big luxury rooms full of couches, tables, and sofas with another huge complimentary buffet, and of course the wine up here is all for free. I also want to mention that earlier in the day around noon, both the Flicks Beer Garden and the Avalon Grill, being on the pedestrian boardwalk, have their own special lunches going on, and you need to buy an extra ticket to get in whether you're a VIP or not. On a final note about the wine mixer, it's a fun 2-day event worth experiencing at least once, and I haven't seen any movie stars or actors from Step Brothers, but you never know if and when they'll ever show up. But I hope they'll see this video as motivation to consider making a trip in the near future. So this is the end for my very first video of Catalina Island. My next one will be all about Avalon, including a lot more hotels, restaurants, more attractions, more tours, other travel tips, and so much more. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for video number 2 coming soon.